Are you fighting? Are you stressing about trying to win battles on your own that Jesus has already won for you? Today, I want to remind all of you guys that the war is over and that Jesus has already won. And so you're not fighting for victory. We're not fighting for victory anymore. We're fighting from victory. And so it gets so easy for us in the day to day struggle of living life, going about our business, to feel like, okay, we're fighting these things. And if we can't come up with the solution, then, it's over for us. And we start to lose sleep and really stress ourselves out when we take a step back and really evaluate everything. We remember that Jesus already won our battle. God already helped us defeat anything that it is that we're fighting by sending Jesus to die on the cross for all of us, for all of our sins, for all of our salvation. And that these changes weren't just temporary, these are for eternity. And so these are things that, it's super important to remember. And I had to have a moment myself a few days ago where I started thinking about it, and I was like, all of these things that I feel like I'm fighting by myself and I feel like I might be losing the battle sometimes. It's because I keep thinking that I'm fighting it myself and that I'm fighting for victory and not from victory. It's like almost as if I'm trying to prove to myself that I can overcome this thing on my own. And I think sometimes, especially as men, we tend to have this mentality of, being self sufficient and thinking that it's always up to us to make something right. And if we can't make it right, then there's just no way that, it can be done if it's not through our own hands ourselves. And so, I had to remember because I think whenever we're reading the Bible, it gets easy to think about, oh, okay, yeah, like, Jesus died for our sins and for these things. And we almost think of it as like one moment in time, like one event that happened. Almost like how you think about, for example, the Olympics as an event that happened, the Olympics from this past year, or from last year, I guess, technically. But we tend to get into that same mindset of thinking about life as this thing of just like events, or thinking about things in the Bible as, oh, these are just events that happened once upon a time. They don't relate to us anymore in this day and age. But what I've really been challenging myself to do is to truly just remember that anything it is that we're fighting, that we're battling, Jesus has already won. And so instead of looking at any issue or anything you're fighting or struggling with as you against the issue, look at it as it's you and Jesus against the issue. And when you look at that, you can fight it. You can fight whatever it is you're struggling with from a stronger standpoint instead of going into battle kind of unsure. Because, of course, as humans, our power alone oftentimes isn't enough to fight whatever it is that we're dealing with. Like, for example, I've talked numerous times on this channel about my struggles with pornography and overcoming those. And what I came to realize was whenever I looked at that as me fighting that on my own, I would get overwhelmed because it's almost like how people say, what do they say? The mind is willing, but the flesh is weak. And so oftentimes when we try to fight things from our flesh, that's when we tend to fall, and that's when we don't have as much confidence in ourselves. But I started to reframe my mindset into thinking, okay, instead of looking at pornography as, okay, it's me against this thing, I started looking at it as it's me and Jesus against this thing. And just having that small change of mindset has allowed me to fight this from a viewpoint of strength. It's allowed me to have more confidence in myself because I know that it's not just me fighting this temptation on my own. I know that I have backup. And the way that I think about it, it's almost like if growing up you had a bigger brother who was bigger and stronger and well respected at school and all of these things, you felt like no one could touch you or no one could mess with you because of your bigger brother. And so that's the way I feel like when I think about, oh, it's me and Jesus. It's Jesus and I fighting this issue. I feel like I'm with my bigger brother in a way that's all knowing, that's all powerful, that's stronger, that's amazing, that, is much better than anything we can imagine. Having that person in my corner, it makes me just so much more confident in the fact that nothing can interfere with, you know, my my goals, the way that I want to do things. And I might slip up, I might have, moments of weakness, but once I remember that, okay, Jesus is always with me, Jesus is always in my corner, I feel so much more empowered to fight anything that I may have been dealing with. And then when we remember that Jesus is with us, it gives us the strength to fight against, the temptation that I was talking about, any kind of fear or doubt or anxiety or depression, because a lot of fear and doubt and anxiety, a lot of these things come from when we're trying to think about things from a human standpoint. Like, for example, when I was in dental school, a lot of times when I started to think, oh, I can't make it, I can't graduate, there's no way I'm going to get my requirements done in time, all of these things, I was thinking about dental school and what I can or can't do from a human standpoint, from my flesh. I wasn't thinking about it from, oh, well, Jesus is still in my corner. And so as long as Jesus is with me, I can do anything. I wasn't thinking about that. But whenever I started to feel like that, if I would have remembered that Jesus is with me, it would have given me so much more strength to know that, okay, even though that was a difficult exam, even though I'm stressed about trying to finish competencies and finish all of these other things in time to graduate, if I just would have put that in a perspective of, okay, well, I'm stressed about these things, but I know Jesus is with me, it would have allowed me to start walking in peace. It would have allowed me to start, carrying myself with, from much more of a peaceful standpoint. Even when I was single, it's like if I would have known, that God had a person like my wife just waiting for me, I wouldn't have been stressed. But I was stressed because I was worried from my flesh. I was thinking about it from a standpoint of, oh, I'm thinking about the things that I can see. And I'm like, oh, well, all I know is I don't have something right now. So how am I supposed to believe that there's someone out there waiting for me that's going to be better than anything I can imagine? And so that's why learning to move with God, learning to trust God is so important. And so that's why it's also super important that we learn to live from victory. And that's why I love whenever I'll see, like, whether it's a TV show or a movie, and they'll talk about, they'll see someone down, they'll say, pick your head up, because it's the same thing. Ultimately, it's important to remember, even if you're going through a tough season right now, it's all temporary. And ultimately, things are going to work out in the end. And it might seem like you're losing now, but the game is never over. And just because you're down by 10, 15, 30 points, whatever the case may be, the game still isn't over. And as long as you still have breath in your lungs, know that Jesus still has a plan for you and that Jesus could still turn your life around. But understand that it's going to happen in Jesus' timing. And so when we understand that everything that happens in life isn't up to our timing, it allows us to move in peace, because so oftentimes in life we try to manipulate when things happen. We try to think, okay, well, I want this thing to happen for me tomorrow. And when it doesn't happen tomorrow, we get stressed, we get anxious, we get, depressed, and we start thinking about, oh, it's us. It's something I didn't do. But what we don't understand, and it's crazy because I think about it and I'm like, I'm sure God just laughs at us whenever he hears any of us talking about our plans. Because ultimately it comes down to God and it comes down to his timing and what he wants for us. He might want something to happen for you tomorrow, but at the same time, he also might want something to happen for you, 2 years from now, 4 years from now. And it reminds me of this Pastor Philip Anthony Mitchell, that I watch his sermons all the time. And I remember in one of his sermons, he was talking about how they just gotten like, they purchased like a new building to, put a church in. And he talked about how for the longest time he'd been praying for it. He'd been feeling jealous of certain other pastors who had already gotten that opportunity. And he had been wondering when his time was going to come for his opportunity. But he kept trusting, he kept praying, he kept having faith. And it took 12 years of him being a pastor, having different ministries, to finally get to that point of now being able to open up his own ministry. And so I think that truly is just a beautiful thing of God will always have things happen on his timing and never according to our timing, because ultimately God knows what's best, much better than we know what's best for us as well. And so, yeah, you guys, I want to record this video to talk about the importance of learning to walk with God, learning to just trust and have faith, and to remember that Jesus has already won any battles that you're struggling with, and to even help you to let go of shame and guilt, because when Jesus is in your corner, there's no space for shame, for guilt, for depression, for anxiety, for any of that stuff. And so what I want to know from you guys is, I hope this video was super helpful for you guys. If you guys found value from it, please like, comment, and subscribe. But I also want to know any areas that you guys are struggling with so that I can pray for you guys. And I also just want to I want you guys to post in the comments so that other people can pray for you guys as well. And I hope that you guys found this video helpful. And as always, you guys, I will talk to all of you in the next one.